2024 has really been the year of Princess Power from Nintendo. Earlier this year, we saw the heir to the Mushroom Kingdom headline her own game in Princess Peach Showtime, and we also saw that it was a little underwhelming. When Nintendo announced that Princess Zelda was also getting to star in her own title, I feared that we were going to get another half-baked game that did not put the princess on equal footing with the regular headline star of the rest of the franchise. I'm glad to report that I was mostly wrong. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom blends all the gameplay you've loved from traditional 2D outings of the Zelda franchise with some of the more modern conveniences of their recent entries like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. We see a return to traditional dungeons and errand structure blending beautifully with the flexibility of using your tools to solve puzzles your way. And they do all that with the titular Zelda herself. While this may not be her first outing as a playable character in the franchise, this will be the most memorable and most true to form. As much as I loved Cadence of Hyrule and laugh at the CDI games, those just did not scratch the same itch that Echoes of Wisdom does. But having Zelda as the protagonist does little to change the game narratively. I mean, yeah, you're the princess, and everyone knows that you're the princess, but overall you're doing the things that Link would normally do. Is that bad? No. But because the game is already so light in narrative, it's difficult to say that this story had a huge impact being told from Zelda's perspective. Yeah, we got another evil character doing evil things across the land of Hyrule, spawning evil versions of good guys, including Link and the King of Hyrule himself. It features a new dimension known as the Still World that turns the residents of Hyrule to stone when they're sucked in. It also follows some of the same story beats we've seen in A Link to the Past, with Zelda being accused of being the one who has brought this tragedy to the kingdom. But it's not bad that we're still just the princess doing Link things. The game isn't super concerned with changing things up story-wise, so the team clearly had a focus on messing around with the in-game mechanics. After Zelda's accusation from an evil version of her father and his advisors, you'll find her trapped in a cell in the castle's dungeon. There, an ethereal being known as Tri appears and joins Zelda on her quest to close the openings to the Still World, known as Rifts. Tri is a less annoying Navi that gives Zelda an enchanted staff and allows her to create echoes, clones of creatures and things that she can use in exploration and battle. This is truly the game's focus, and where you'll sense that they wanted Zelda to be different from Link. Gone are the days of sword slashing and arrow shooting. Kind of. We'll get to that later. Each echo has a cost, and while you'll have the max amount of echoes you can cast at once, you can erase what you've spawned with a single button press, or just continue spawning and the first thing you've spawned will disappear. There's no cooldown on the ability, so it allows you to quickly continue creating echoes to your heart's content. Zelda and Tri escape from jail and begin their journey across the many places of Hyrule, and there are many places. This map is massive and gives a lot to explore. From the regal Hyrule Castle to the cold and biting Mount Lanayru to the dangerous Eldin Volcano and the beautiful and serene seascape of Jabal Waters, you'll get to see just how beautiful this game truly is. But with so much beauty in this game, there is a cost, and that is frames. Particles and effects really cause this game to chug. Spin once in the tall grass and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It goes from 60 frames per second to maybe less than 30 in some more asset-heavy areas. Where this game shines is the exorbitant amount of choice that you are given on how to combat each problem that Zelda will face. Throwing rocks at enemies is just as effective as spawning a dark nut to slash and swing at them for you, spawning a table and a bed to climb over walls, or maybe use a Krautula instead and bind their movement. All of these are valid options and let you play the game your way, but being spoiled for choice can make this game harder to approach, and the litany of options available to you, especially in late game after collecting a bunch of the 124 echoes represented in this game, can be frustrating. The game's UI for echo choice is not customizable at all. You have 4 presets of how the echoes are displayed when choosing what to use: latest learned, most used, highest cost, and last used. And these are not presented in an intuitive way. It's every echo on one line. I would have liked to mark favorites so I didn't have to scroll for days to find the echo I wanted. At the very least, having a sorting system for creatures and objects would have been great. However, platforming and puzzles are fun with the echoes. Spawning in a levitating tile to ride a long horizontal distance was always gratifying. Figuring out which combo of bed, table, trampoline to get to where I needed to go was a joy. Combat is where I think this game lacked the most. Your Echo's AI is abysmal, and you'll be using the lock-on targeting system a lot, as the game doesn't always know what you want to lock on to. Zelda cannot normally attack enemies herself, so you'll be relying on echoes being smart enough to attack what needs to be defeated. There are other options that are unlocked later in the game, such as automatons, which are wind-up creatures you get from Dampe, do worse than your echoes typically do, and Sword Fighter form, which grants Zelda a sword that you can slash within a timed amount of your energy bar that accompanies this form. It's a fantastic addition that alleviates the harder moments of battle, but it is limited and you'll have to keep an eye on that energy bar while in that form. But let me be clear, the combat isn't hard in this game, just frustrating. Juggling echoes in and out of tense combat situations isn't how I like to approach battle. There are other abilities we haven't touched on yet, Bind and Reverse Bind. One allows you to make objects move with Zelda, the other allows Zelda to move with moving objects. It's a simple system, but one of the best in the game. I really liked solving puzzles by moving things I normally wouldn't have had access to because of bars being in the way or being carried along bottomless pits by floating platforms. You will use this ability a lot. There just isn't a lot to say about it other than it's good and reminds me a lot of Ultra Hand. Dungeons make their return, and I am an ecstatic Zelda fan for it. The puzzles inside are intuitive, the boss fights are a rush, the layout and size of the dungeons are vast, and the thematic elements on display here are a nice return to the franchise. You have the ice dungeon, the fire dungeon, the water dungeon, and so on. It's a good time, and really the most engaging part of this game. They're located in the large rifts on the map, and their size and scope are massive. One final subject here, story and side quests. This game is not linear in any way. I spoke to one of my colleagues who completed the opening 3 dungeons in a different order than I did. I totally missed the automatons during my first run through, he did not. There's a lot of sequence breaking that can be done, and that's because of the openness of the Echoes system. I really liked that. It makes for some amazing water cooler moments to talk about how each player approached a puzzle, dungeon, or story beat. The side quests, while not meaty, are abundant. For the most part, this is just errands. You can go find an echo you either don't have or you found hours ago and show it to a villager. You can enter a small rift to assist a citizen who is trapped in the still world. Some cool mini-games, stamp collecting from scenic spots and hideaways, but the story is likely all you'll need to truly enjoy this game. In summation, I liked Echoes of Wisdom. It's an amazing title to have added to the catalog of great games, and unlike Princess Peach Showtime, Zelda, being the main character, does a good job of keeping the seat warm for Link. It's not a massive deviation from the formula that has been established, and is at its core a mainline Zelda game. If this is the last time we see Zelda take the headline spot in her own title, it will be a very memorable one. I give this game an 84 out of 100.